Hi, I'm Jonah Essers with the Tummy Handbook. Welcome back to my series of videos on food allergies in infants and toddlers. Today we're going to discuss a gripe that I hear often in my office, which is that we did something wrong as parents. There are all these risk factors to the development of allergy, and we did all the wrong things. We didn't give our child the right food. We didn't expose them to the right bacteria. And so because of all of the evidence out there to suggest certain risk factors for the development of allergy, I see a lot of guilt in my office from families. So today I'd like to discuss some of the evidence around the risk factors for the development of allergies, or the things that protect against allergy, and to just basically comment on what that means for you as a family. Okay, so the first thing to understand is that the immune system is really designed to recognize foreign proteins and to then do something about it. And the immune system has to somehow learn early in life what is okay and what is not okay. And that concept is called tolerance. When the immune system develops tolerance, for example, to peanut protein, it learns not to overreact to that particular protein. And the development of tolerance to things that we want our child to consume comes from a lot of sources, and it's very complex. But there are two key environmental contributors that people are tracking. Number one is the development of a healthy microbiome. The microbiome is the population of bacteria that live in your gut and throughout your body. It's almost always healthy bacteria, and it's that healthy population of bacteria that we believe contributes earlier to tolerance. The second thing that contributes to tolerance is early exposure to food protein. So the earlier you expose your child to something like peanut protein, the more likely that that immune system will develop tolerance to peanut protein and not overreact. So let's take these one at a time. A healthy microbiome is something that is potentially not in your control. Your DNA or your genetics is one of the major contributors to whether you have a healthy microbiome, but there's some recent data to suggest some things that may contribute to a healthy microbiome. For example, household pets, which gives a lot more bacteria and fecal matter, which potentially actually helps the immune system develop tolerance. A vaginal delivery, anointing your baby with your vaginal flora, is potentially protective against an allergy. Living in a rural setting around farm animals and lots of trees and grasses. Additionally, withholding antibiotics early on in life. Antibiotics tend to mess up your microbiome. And also withholding antacids. And antacids also potentially can mess with the microbiome. And so all of these risk factors or protective factors are things that have come out in the data recently. Switching gears, we're going to talk about early exposure to food. What we've learned through a series of elegant studies is that early exposure to food proteins develops tolerance to a lot of the common allergens, for example, peanut protein. And so that really argues against a breastfeeding mother removing foods from her diet just in case she may have a child with food allergies. It also argues against being defensive with an infant or toddler and not exposing them to table food that could be potentially allergic, just in case they may develop an allergy. So you really want to expose that baby early and often to food proteins that potentially could be allergic. And those exposures should happen soon after 6 months of age. You want to just make sure that you use the right texture that's age appropriate for your child. So in summary, what we've learned is that there are a lot of potential risk factors and protective factors for the development of allergy. However, a lot of these things are actually not in your control. For example, if you need a C-section, you need a C-section. You're not going to get a pet necessarily just to prevent food allergies. So you definitely need to take it into account, the idea that some of these are not necessarily practical at this point. The other thing to understand is that the effect size of these risks are potentially really small. So just because you have had a C-section doesn't mean that your child is doomed to develop food allergies. So really what I like to summarize for parents is that there's a lot of very interesting research out there, but at this point, there really isn't a whole lot to give parents practical information on what to do, and they should definitely not feel guilty for the choices that they've made for their child. Thanks again for watching my videos, and as always, if you have any questions, leave me a comment below, and you can check me out on Instagram in my link in the bio. Thanks again for watching.